We all have so many choices to make, but a decision can take you down either the wrong or right path. This year's Wealth Manager Conference and Awards set out to help investors navigate their way through the labyrinth of the current economic environment. As the election looms, the spotlight is on the corridors of Westminster. But how are investors finding their way through the political maze? Robert Peston talked us through a roadmap of the UK's recovery and the new era of politics that has emerged from the economic landscape.
All over Europe, including the UK, you are seeing the rise of parties, populist parties, that respond to a feeling, which is not a completely phony feeling, of millions of people that the economy is not working for them. You can see this manifested in the rise of the SNP, you can see this manifested in the rise of UKIP. This, for me, is the big phenomenon of our time.
I certainly think that politics has a major impact on the market and people are looking for hung parliaments, although the difference between the major parties is really quite narrow in terms of spending.
I think in terms of how people like us invest our client portfolios, the impact of the UK election is not that great.
The image of a country, government or corporation is important, but how can we influence that perception? Simon Anholt demonstrated how we often make choices based on misconceptions and suggested how governments can make better collective decisions in order for society to progress.
The European Union is more giving than most other countries. Why? Because the European Union is the noblest experiment in the history of humanity. It seems to me that this is the model for the survival of the human species. If countries can get together and cooperate and collaborate to solve global challenges, rather than competing against each other as if this was still the 17th century, then that's the only way forward.
I don't necessarily think that an image or a brand from a country would impact our view on whether we would invest in a product or even buy a product. But potentially, I think subconsciously, it does have an impact. After listening to Simon Anholt and his views, it became clear that I hadn't really thought of it from that perspective. And in his views, where it says that it's quite an important factor in maybe the human psyche, that we do make these decisions, we probably have done it subconsciously.
But do we truly have power over our decisions? Author Ronson made us question where we are on the psychopath scale and forced us to ponder why CEOs are more likely to have psychopathic tendencies.
There's a group of people who live among us who have adopted human form, but they're not like us, they're psychopaths. And their brain anomaly is so powerful, they rule the world and have remoulded society.
I'm the Rhyme Minister, the Big G Brown. I was wrecking on the mic when the banks went down. On the left of me is probity and prudence, on the right then my bankers, and they thank me because my touch was for the light. Rolling fat notes off my clip, spending taxes like water, no tomorrow, so I borrow each financial quarter. Remember all the good times, yes, you couldn't forget it. It went boom before the crunch, and I will take the credit. Thank you very much.
Inevitably, our decisions can often lead us further into the dark. But by examining how or why we make the decisions that we do, we might just be able to find the light.